Greetings. In this video, we are going to be talking about displaying variable data in Python. In other words, we need to be able to see the results of our programs because we give them data to work on and they have to produce an output which we have to see. In our previous video, I talked about how we can create variables of different object types, and we say that variables can be declared to store the results of some processes, and their values need to be displayed. For example, if you write a program to add two numbers, the sum of those two numbers needs to be stored for future use in your program, and at some time you will need to display that data so that the output of the processing, which is the addition of two numbers, for example, can be displayed. It is important that we discuss how Python provides output or print variables with or without labels. So in our previous video, we declared the following variables: name, which is equal to James, age, which is equal to 34, height, which we said is 1,65, complete, which is equal to true for your boolean, finished, which is equal to false. Again, this is boolean. Message, which is equals to hello world, which is your string. Num list, and we had numbers 1, 2 up to 3 as our list. Name tuple, which is equals to 1, 2, 3 as our tuple data type. Num set, is equals to 1, 2, 3 is our set, and our dictionary person, in which we stored the name. We also stored the age. And we also stored the job. We also had data destructuring. So this being our program from the previous video. If you are not conversant with how we assign these values of different data types, you can watch the video. This is my video titled Introduction to Python, explaining how to install the VS Code, how to install the Python, explaining variables, identifiers, data destructuring. We are writing console-based programs, so we need to use the Python print function. It is a built-in function. We don't have to reinvent the wheel. It was designed for us by the Python language programmers, so we just have to call it and use it. Now, so we are going to be using the print function in our program to see how we can display variable data. The print function can be called with no arguments. just write our code print here. This is the print function. Whenever you call a function, you need to give it brackets or parentheses. So you can't write print without those functions. Now this is going to display an empty line. As you can see here, there is nothing that is displayed. So no matter the type of data that you give to the print function, it will just print it. It will convert the data or the arguments. The arguments are the values that we pass in the parentheses. They will be converted to a stream of data. So this is how we print just an empty line. To print a variable, no matter the type of data that is stored in it, we call the print function with the variable name as our argument. So for example, we want to print age, so we just print age. Age is storing an integer, but in this case we just have to print age, and if we are going to run it, you'll see our new line first and our age, which is a 34. Now let's talk about the print function. So if we want to see what the print function does, we can then print the help function. Then we pass the function that we want to seek help on, which is print. So this is printing the output of help, a print. Don't worry, we shall discuss about functions later. But when we do this, you should be able to see the output here. This is a print function. So what does it do? It takes a value, it takes a separator value, it always ends with a new line, and you can give it a file to send the data to. We'll talk about much of these things later. The value should be given. If not, then it will display an empty value. The separator is we shall use later to see how we can separate our values when we are printing more than one value. The Python function ends its printing with a new line. Okay, enough about that. And because I don't want to put much data on my console, I'm just going to comment it out for now. We need now to print the data that is held in a string. We have a variable called message, where we are storing our hello world. So we want to see how we can print the value. Now, in our previous video, at one moment I printed some variables, and at one moment I printed hello world in quotes. Now, does it matter how we print a string value and how we print a variable holding a string value? To print a variable, we don't need to put any quotes. We just print message. But when we want to print the words hello world, when they are not in a variable, we have to print them in quotes. When you are printing any value, you have to print it in the manner it is assigned in the variable. A string is always in quotes when you assign it to a variable. Therefore, when you print it, it should be in quotes. But if you are printing a variable, there is no need for putting the quotes, because if you put the quotes, for example, let's do it. Let's put the quotes and print message. The Python interpreter will not see the value stored in the message variable, because in this case, message is being passed as a string and not as a variable. So when you print a variable, no matter its data type, you don't need to put it in quotes. But when you print a value on the fly, especially with strings, we have to make sure that we put them in quotes. Now, let's look at printing variables with labels. Imagine when we printed 30H in line 18, all you saw is a 34. You ask yourself, what is this 34? The 34 is meaningless. Is it an edge? Is it a bank balance? What is it? So there is no label to it. There is nothing that can inform the user about the type of data that it is. So this makes it very important for us to label our output. We can label our output using strings. For example, instead of just printing a 34, we can give a label to say your edge is 30 edge. We don't need to use the value. We just have to use the variable. Now when we do this and run our program, now you can see it's saying your edge is 34. By the way, I'm already printing more than one value. I'm already printing more than one value on our program, which we will explain much in detail. Print function can take more than one value. So it's taking a string value and it's also taking an edge. The default separator is an empty space. Therefore, even if I remove space just after is, you see one space between is and 34. So if you are going to be printing more than one value, you need to make sure that you put a comma after every value. So this is taken like two values, a string value and a variable. Therefore, print function is going to format this for us into a stream of data. So you can print as many arguments as you want, but just separate them by a comma. Programming follows the GIGO principle. It's garbage in, garbage out. If you don't put anything in your print function, don't expect to see anything out of it. For example, if we want a full colon to appear after is, we have to put it. If we want another space to appear after is, we have to put it. If we don't, then it means that it won't be displayed because of the GIGO principle. Now, let's look at how we can print more data in the following example. We just want to print an empty line to separate our top printer from the next printer. Then we want to print our values, for example, our list. So we're going to say num list. That is our label. Then we can put the num list variable. Then we can say num tuple. Then we can put the tuple, the num tuple variable. We can print the other data type, which is our num set. We're always putting a full colon here, so we need to bring the full colony. Let me close my console so that we don't end up bloated screen again. Now, what else do we need to print is our num set. So our num set here. If we want to print the biodata, we can print name is, that should be in quotes, age years old with a height of height. Our height should be a variable now, so we have to call our height variable. Finish programming. It's a question we are asking. Did this person finish programming? We are putting the value finished, which is storing a Boolean value. So is the person now a master of programming? Oh wait, we can put the value complete. Okay, so this becomes our new line, which is printing our biodata. It's taking lots of space, so we can just break it down into bits and pieces. Python will handle everything for us so that our data can be displayed on a single screen. Let's run our program. You can see the output. James is 34 years old with it's garbage in, garbage out. If we want a full stop here, we can go and put it. If we don't know, we don't put it. With a height of 1,65. Finished programming false. Master true. Oh, you are already a master, James. Okay, and you can see that here our data is being printed. Num list with a full colony, then the list which we declared. Then if we want to put a comma, we can put it here. Then we have to put space after that so that we can format a little bit our output for it to be displayed in a better formatting. Now after this, we can print our dictionary. Print personal info. Then we can just print person. Let's run that and see what we are going to get. So this is the personal info. Name is Peter. Age is 43. Job is developer, as we declared it. So the important thing to note is that programming is GIGO. Garbage in, garbage out. What you put is what you get. What you don't put in your print function, you won't get. So it's very important that you format your strings. If you want an is, put it. For our data structuring, we can print the CT. That's our label for the CT. Then we have the code. That's our label and the code variable. Then we can print. Now you can see our city is Chirezi and our code is 1 as we stored in our variable. So I think you have seen that whenever you want a label, we can always use a string, and you can always separate your data. This is a variable. You put your string, which is in quotes. Then you put your age variable. Then you put your as old with a height of, that is a label, in quotes. Then you put your height variable, then you put comma, finished programming. So you have to format printer so that it can display data in a user-friendly format. But again, we are writing console-based programs. There is much that we can do. So in our next video, we shall look at how we can display non-variable data. We have already covered that, but it's just that we need to focus on that and that alone. If you prefer a text-based tutorial, if you're good at learning by reading and not by viewing a video, you can go to my portfolio blog.jeremiahtaguta.com. You can see so many blog articles there. Remember, the best way to learn programming is by programming. So get your hands dirty, start programming. Thank you for watching this video. Remember to comment, remember to like, remember to share, and remember to subscribe. Till we meet next time, stay well. Thank you.